Hi, everyone, and welcome to our online anatomy class. My name is Andrea Sharpenstein, and I'm going to be your instructor this semester. So this quick video is just to help you navigate the course, familiarize yourself with, the expectations that I have for each week, etc., etc. So we're just going to go through it real fast. I'm not going to take too much of your time. All right, so once you click into Bio 137, you see Spring 2026 Student Help and Reference. So each semester you will see a Student Help and Reference tab, and that's just something for you to help you get started with Blackboard. It's got a lot of information with technology support, online netiquette, using AI, which don't do that for this class. It's not going to help you get anywhere. I mean, it might, but where there's not going to be any need for AI in this course, and you'll see everything is pretty straightforward in terms of expectations. But yeah, Student Help and Reference tab, you can find bookstore information, financial aid, billing, refunds, payment plans, accessibility services. If you do need these, please get with that office. Do not email me directly with any accessibility needs. That does have to come through the Accessibility Services Center. So career services, that's what your Student Help and Reference tab is all about. It's helping you with anything outside of this course. If you click on this link, it'll take you through a quick walkthrough, anything that you need for setting up your McGraw-Hill account, because this class will be using McGraw-Hill Connect for pretty much everything. That's the publisher content, and that's what our quizzes and labs, SmartBook access is all going to be within. All right, and then students start here, course information. So this is pretty much where we get started. You got your course overview, my information here with my email. If you do need to get a hold of me, definitely email me. You'll get an answer within 1 to 2 business days. Do not message me on Blackboard. I do not have Blackboard messages turned on. As you can see up here, I will not get it and I won't respond to you. So email me. If you email me, all of your questions will be answered. So that's my information right here. I will also have this in the introductory email I send you before you get started. Course syllabus is here. We will go over that momentarily. Course grading policy and everything that we have to go over, which I will also talk about as we go through the syllabus. But basically, grades are going to be rounded up within the half percentage point, so 89.5 or more, it's an A, and so on and so forth. Course assignments and due dates. So if you want the quick version here, you can see everything. This is also at the end of your syllabus, but if you don't feel like opening your syllabus, this is a really easy place to go to see what's expected of you each week with due dates therein. And then if you don't want to do that either, every single week is broken down with due dates in these module formats that you are expected to complete each and every single week. Due dates are going to be at the end of the week, usually on Sundays. If a due date is different, it will always be announced to you ahead of time and written out. So do not wait until the due date to submit something. The due date is the very last moment that something can be turned in. It does not mean that's when you need to start on that something, whatever it is. So please make sure that you are managing your time wisely and getting work submitted on time, because there will be no late work, makeup work, extensions, or extra credit, unfortunately, in this course. But anyways, yeah, so everything is going to be broken down weekly for you. But before we get started there, let's talk about the syllabus. Okay. So there's my information again with my email. It is my preferred method of communication, so any questions that you do have, please send to my email. If there's ever an error code, please take a screenshot or a snippet and send me an email so I can see kind of what we're working with. A lot of any sort of McGraw-Hill or Blackboard function will be resolved just by hitting Control-H and clearing out your internet search history from the beginning of time. Cookies from just browsing the web can impede program performance, and clearing out your entire internet search history should fix that. So the way that this course is set up, so technically there's an online lecture and lab, and anatomy, all of that is one. So each week you will have your lecture content and a lab that you have to complete. Regular and substantiative interaction, I will be sending you weekly emails, and I have a couple Blackboard discussion assignments that you need to complete, where we are, having a little bit of back and forth. A prerequisite, so for here, if you're in this class, you have completed your prerequisites, so we won't go into that. Required textbook and materials, so we are using McGraw-Hill Connect. You don't actually have to buy anything. It's already lumped into your course fee within your tuition. If you did want the actual physical copy, here's the ISBN number for the bound edition and the loose leaf, and that is the textbook that we are going to be working under this semester. Because you are in this class and you are taking it online, like I said, your McGraw-Hill Connect is already available to you and you don't have to buy it additionally. And you have an ebook attached to that if you don't want a textbook. So we'll go through the ebook content as well when we get back into Blackboard. Technology statement, I recommend that you use Google Chrome for McGraw-Hill Connect. I think Mozilla Firefox is okay, but read through this to make sure that you do have a computer that is going to function within this course, or optimally function anyway. Okay, course competencies, you can read through these. These are all of the competencies that we're going to hit throughout the semester, learning about all of the concepts related to Bio 137, which is Anatomy 1, which is essentially the first half of that textbook. Anatomy 2 goes over the second half, but this is Anatomy 1. All right, online workplace ethics agreement. You can read through this, finish your lecture material or your weekly modules, which have both your lecture and lab material at a timely manner, and you should do fine in this course. There are, timelines that you have to hit, especially with withdrawal dates, but all of those are also lumped into your weekly layout, essentially. So you won't ever be confused about when the last day to withdraw with a W is or anything like that. I'll also send you out weekly emails with that information, and it's found at, if you go back to our Blackboard page, you can find that information in course assignments and due dates. So January 18th is, for example, the last day for 100% refund, last day for 50% refund, last day to withdraw with a W. So just keep up with weekly items and make sure you check your email. If I ever send an email with an update on something and you didn't check your email, unfortunately, that is not a good enough excuse to not be in the know. So make sure you're checking your email at least once a day. And that just goes for your, entire school career and work career, essentially, just to make sure that you are updated in the know. Important dates can also be found through this link, SkyCTC academic calendar, withdrawal policy. You can read through that. Basically, that last day to withdraw from a course with a W is going to be the last day you get a W. Anything after that will be an E, essentially, which is a failing grade. Let's see. Inquiries and other class concerns. You can read through that. Dr. Jennifer Shoemake is our Dean of Math and Sciences. And to schedule any appointments with our dean, you do have to go through our administrative assistant at that phone number. Okay. Freedom from retaliation. Faculty and staff shall not retaliate against any student for bringing a concern or complaint. Student discrimination grievance procedure. So you can read through that. Dr. David Travis is our point for anything in this section. If you do need accessibility services, please contact the Accessibility Services Office or give them a call at this phone number so that they can send me an email with whatever sort of accommodation that you need, whether it's more time on quizzes, tests, or anything like that. All of that has to be through the Accessibility Services Center. Plagiarism or cheating, completely unacceptable. If you copy and paste anything from ChatGPT, for example, it's pretty obvious. So I implore you to please use critical thinking. Okay, do not plagiarize, do not cheat. You can go to our KCTCS Code of Student Conduct. There are consequences there. Don't find out what they are, essentially. But at the minimum, you will receive a 0. So I just tell everybody, avoid it. Okay, if you're using any sort of knowledge that's not yours, cite your sources. Okay, and your source can't be ChatGPT. Actually, look online, look through stuff, cite your sources. The only assignment in this course that you will have to cite your sources on is going to be our case study assignment. If you're not getting that information from our book, which honestly you should also cite. Okay, so FERPA prevents me from talking to anybody but you about your grade, essentially. So if your parents email me asking about your grade, I will not be able to give it to them. Okay, grades. So this semester, basically, this is our grade breakdown. We've got 2 discussion boards. Every week you'll have a quiz. Every week you'll also have a lab assignment. Sometimes you'll have more than one lab assignment, which we'll go through. They're not daunting. If you have more than one, they are going to be pretty short, and they are all 10 points each. You got 3 lab practicums, which are essentially lab exams. Those are going to be labeling, fill in the blank, making sure you know what you're looking at, anatomically speaking, of course. Our quizzes are going to be more physiological based. So anatomy is what it is. Physiology is how it works, right? And each week you'll have a quiz. And all of those are going to be through our publisher content. Final exam is going to be 200 points. That's going to be at the end of the semester. And it's going to be laid out pretty much like your quizzes are. And the final exam is going to be a culmination of your quizzes. So I implore you to study your quizzes and you will be ready for your final. There's 1 case study assignment that's due at the end of the semester. You can work on it whenever you want. You can work on it right now, but it will be due at the end of the semester, and it is 100 points, which is a nice chunk of grade there. And then syllabus acknowledgement, 10 points. Don't forget to do that. Your lowest quiz grade and lab grade will be dropped at the end of the semester. So there is that. Because Sky CTC doesn't give extra credit anymore, this is something that we like to include to try and help boost your grade. Proctored exam. So our final exam and our quizzes are all proctored. And they will be proctored through McGraw-Hill Connect. So you have to have a webcam and a microphone to take each quiz and to take the final exam. So make sure you have all of that on the computer or laptop that you are using. Blackboard time zone. So I operate under the Central Time Zone. If you are in the Eastern time zone, your due dates will be shown in the Eastern time zone. For this reason, I make the due dates 10:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Used to have them at 11:59 p.m. Central, but then that was confusing because 12:59 a.m. showed up as the next day, and then students thought that was noon, and it didn't really work out too well for anybody. So our due dates each week are going to be 10:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 11:59 Eastern Time. So do not get that confused. It is going to be the same every single week. And then here's your weekly breakdown, essentially, so you can read through that. And, if you don't feel like going into your syllabus every week to see, it is also in your Blackboard, broken down into modules. Okay, so we've already gone over this, roster verification. So if you do not complete your syllabus quiz by the due date, you will be dropped for non-attendance. You will be dropped as a no-show. Make sure you complete your syllabus quiz by Friday, 10:59 p.m., 11:59 p.m. 10:59 p.m. Central, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Quizzes I talked about, lecture exam I talked about, lab exams are called practicals, and you'll have 3 throughout the semester. You won't have a final lab practical. You just have 3 sectioned out throughout the semester. Lab assignments, so those are going to be the labs that you do weekly. And then assignments on McGraw-Hill. These are not actually going to be graded. Those are your SmartBook assignments. Those are just SmartBook access, and they are optional. Students like to go through that as sort of a way to study for the quizzes. It goes through the chapter and has essential, key questions and stuff we'll look at. Late work, no late work accepted. No extra credit, no makeup work, and no extensions. So make sure you're staying on top of things. If you do need tutoring assistance, please use the Learning Commons. You can click through here to take you to the site for an appointment. And then Trio program also has a tutor that you can go through this site on. So I spent way too much time there. Let's look at what you're going to be doing. So each week, week 1, you'll have an introduction discussion. I've posted in here. Make sure you make a post yourself. You'll have a module overview that kind of tells you what we're doing, course competencies that we're hitting. And then you'll have a PowerPoint and a lecture video. The PowerPoint is the PowerPoint that I use in my lecture video. So make sure that, if you want to follow along, you can open up the PowerPoint. But make sure you're watching my lecture videos because that's what our quizzes each week are going to be over, okay? So quizzes are going to be straight out of the lecture video for the week. If you want SmartBook access, so I've already opened up in this tab, click SmartBook. Opens it up here. Oh no. There. Let's launch the preview again. Okay. So each SmartBook assignment, so again, these are not graded. This is just practice, and it can take you to questions to practice, or it can take you to the reading material. So if you click start reading, it actually takes you to the book, right? So this is the online book. You can go through the entire book through there, right? If you're good on that part, you don't want to read the book, or you've read enough of it and you want to test yourself, you can go to the questions. So if you remember back to that first page, the estimated time of completion for this one's about an hour, and that's as you go through the questions and go through the book. If you need help, you can always hit read about the concept. If you don't know the answer, you hit read about the concept, and it'll take you to the section that you need to read from to find out the answer. So it's a good study material. But again, that one's optional. You have to watch the lecture video in order to be ready for the quiz. You'll have a combination of virtual labs and APR labs. So first we'll do a virtual lab. So if you click on a virtual lab, one will open up. I just did a random one examining mitosis. And this is what that looks like. So it'll tell you the key concepts that this virtual lab is going to hit. So you want to read through that. an overview of what you're going to be doing in the simulation, and then before you begin, what you need to know. So when we start the lab simulation, make sure that you are reading the steps correctly, because if you skip a step, it's going to count it as wrong, right? So we know that early prophase is first, prophase is next, right? But you cannot go to the next phase until everything is completed. So early metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. So let's try and fill this in. I'll do this one real quick for you guys. Let's see here. Let's just do this real fast and see if we're right. Okay, let's verify. Oh, well, would you look at that? We got everything right. So then you have to answer a question before you can go on to phase 2. But make sure that you do read everything step by step, because in some of these, they become a little bit more involved. And if you click away, so let's see if I can, well, we'll just go to phase 2. All right, let's go on to phase 2. Okay, if we click somewhere that we're not supposed to be clicking, so, well, it's not doing it now. You'll get an error code. Basically, there will be an error code that pops up and says, no, that's wrong. You can't click that there, but it is not doing it for me right now. Okay, well, anyways, make sure that you are reading everything so that you do get your full points for these. Okay, so those are virtual labs through McGraw-Hill. We also have labs called APR. That stands for Anatomy and Physiology Revealed. So the APR labs start integument is an APR lab, bone tissue skeletal system, and then some of them are going to have a mix. So muscles are going to be APR, but muscle tissue is going to be a virtual lab. So virtual lab is what you just saw. APR, so Anatomy and Physiology Revealed, it's a little bit different. This is what that looks like. And it looks really involved, but I'm going to show you what this is. So this is all dissection based, okay? So you will click, here's your skeleton, for example. If you click on one of these tabs, you'll have structure information on there for studying. So this is really good to make note cards out of. And you'll have different views that you can do. And you can also pick a different color and show an arrow. But, okay, let's go back to the list. But you have to click through all of them, essentially. So if you want it to be fast, if you click through all of them, obviously you see what's happening. It's highlighting. So pelvic girdle, it's highlighting your pelvic girdle. Patella, highlighting the patella. Metacarpals, highlighting your metacarpals. Phalanges, everything gets highlighted basically as you're dissecting the skeleton, so you know where it is. If you wanted to get finished with it real fast, that's all you have to do to move on to the second activity, right? However, the whole point of this is a dissection lab, so that you're figuring out what you're looking at and reading the information over it. So where does it articulate? Your lab practicals, for example, will have questions like that. So label the clavicle, okay? Where's the clavicle? Label it. Or this will be highlighted and it'll say label this structure, okay? Let's see. Medial end articulates with sternum at sternoclavicular joint. So I could ask a question like, which end articulates with the sternum at the sternoclavicular joint? And you would have to know. Or I could ask, let's see, let's look at the coracoid process, for example. Where is the coracoid process located? Scapula, okay. The following description, I could say prominent protuberance inferior to acromion of scapula is what? And then you would have to know that that's the court process. So don't just flip through these to get done with the assignment, because this is all you have to do. You just have to click on all of them to be done. However, if you want to be successful in this course, you're going to spend a little bit more time on this and really learning everything that's there. I do go over this stuff in my lecture video as well. So this is just extra practice for you. So you can watch my lecture video to learn about all the parts where everything is and everything I want you to know about it. And then you can, and that's what you need to do, not just you can, that's what you should do. And then you can go through here and kind of get your own hands-on, essentially, experience from the comfort of your own home, since this is online only. But let's click through all of that. And then you'll see kind of what it looks like at the end, when you know that you're finished with the assignment. So we're not finished yet. How many activities does this one have? A lot is the answer. Now, if you tried to go on to a different activity, you will not be able to until everything is finished. So yeah, there's a lot to know in anatomy, especially when we get to skeletal system. That week is going to be pretty involved. Okay, now looks like we're done, or we're moving on. Well, basically, when we are done with everything, there will be a page that pops up like this. And okay, so this has a whole lot more than what I'm gonna have you do, but it'll tell you your score. And then you hit save report to save it, and you can come back, and then if you're done, you just hit submit. So that's the difference between virtual labs and APR. So virtual labs are going to be more, you're completing the lab as a student, and then APR labs are going to be more anatomy labeling based. Okay. So, let's see. We looked at smart books, we looked at virtual labs and anatomy physiology revealed labs. Everything is organized. You have a quick reminder down here at the bottom not to forget the case study at the end of the semester. But you can find that up here because you do have the entire semester to complete it. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Any questions, again, email me. Otherwise, that's all I got. Let's have a good semester.